Okay, so it's very common that people will say to me, and I see it very frequently in comments and questions, that there is this point in this process, so to speak, that it seems like a lot of the motivation for activities and interests and engagements in the relative world, in this personal life, aren't there in the same way, or there's a kind of loss in interest and motivation in certain things that used to be interesting and motivating prior to engaging with this inquiry process. And as usual, I can only describe my own experience with this, and hopefully that's valuable. And that there's definitely a period where that was a thing for me. But there is a definite fixation going on there at some level, and there is an aversion happening, and that aversion is a position taken on those activities and interests, or what's happening in the relative world. So on one level that was the case, but on another level, behaviours and interests change, because there, at least for myself, it was the motivation for, and the intention that was behind, or the energy that was behind engaging in certain activities, was the motivation was born from dissatisfaction. It was born from lacking, a feeling of lacking or incompleteness. It was born from a restlessness, an aversion from what was currently here in experience, in the quest to find the better one, or the quest for self-improvement, because I don't feel like I'm complete, I don't feel like I'm good enough, so I need to engage in these endeavours to make myself better. And there is nothing wrong with that, but intuitively it can be felt, after awakening, it can be felt at an emotional level where those inclinations and motivations are coming from. And this is where we just kind of have to be honest with ourselves and attentive to those intuitions and how things feel. So like I explained before, at another level, there is a greater sense of contentment and peace with what's here. So naturally, the endeavours and the motivations that are based on not being at peace with what's here will diminish. But there is a kind of little trap in here, because like I said, with the first movement of awakening, there is a, following that, let's say, so to speak, there's a definite dissociative quality to how personality, or the sense of self, reconfigures itself after that. Because you could say, so to speak, we regress backwards with awakening into a more fundamental identity, in a way. And that more fundamental identity is a deeper and more a deeper and like more primary building block upon which the sense of self is built. And whilst there comes a sense of expansiveness and peace and release and contentment, let's say in the relative, because of that, there can be an association with the absolute from the point of view of the relative character, such that it becomes some kind of fixation. It becomes like a disassociative place of refuge. So when you, so to speak, have access to infinite awareness, or the unformed knowingness, or the pure consciousness, when that is, pure way to describe it, so to speak, in the relative accessible, then it can also be used to avert from uncomfortable aspects of life, uncomfortable sensations and emotions, or even thought. And that for me, that led to a kind of fixation in the absolute, and a turning away from manifestation, the relative world, my life and experience. So there's kind of like a trap built into that, and it's something that's easily missed, and it's something that we can easily build an identity out of and hold on to. Because framed from the relative point of view of the character, it's something that has enormous value, and it is important because the what it thinks the discovery of that means is a solution to all of its problems, an escape and a refuge, as a more pleasant experience. So I'm kind of talking on the edge here between relative and absolute, but ultimately they're what reconciles this fixation, this movement of aversion, is a loss of distinction between the boundary of relative and absolute, and ultimately a loss of the reality of this personal journey, this path of awakening. That's what sets us free from the back and forth, the aversion to any aspect of life, and the desire for a better, more awake experience. So this is an unpalatable message, of course, because from the point of view of the self, what I'm saying is invalidating the reality of the spiritual path, the solution to all its problems, and the goal of awakening. But I'm pointing precisely to that because that is the, so to speak, it's hard to not frame it in a way that seems like a goal, but that's the end result of this, is that we let go of this attachment to more palatable, more comfortable experiences, or this attachment to an idea we have about awakening in the future that's going to solve all my problems, meaning that I don't have to deal with uncomfortable or painful experiences anymore. So I think there's a certain aspect of maturity that comes about at a certain point when it dawns as a realization that the next phase, so to speak, of this movement into liberation is to willingly and directly engage with the uncomfortable aspects of life. I know this is quite a cheesy phrase, but you've heard this before, and I think there is value in it, that when problem presents itself, it can either be a problem or it can be an opportunity to put into practice the lived, felt understanding of this recognition, this awakening. Not to fall back into or avert into a bliss state of infinite awareness or infinite beingness. So this movement between different states and different qualities of experience still maintains its reality with some strength, even after the clear recognition that one, this discrete entity that I always felt to be real, that is me, it is seen through in its reality. It loses its power to continually suggest its own reality. But like I've always said, it reconfigures itself and appears within a different context. That context being the spiritual path or the quest for enlightenment. So it applies the same old patterns of seeking, albeit within a different theme or context. So this comes back to intuition. That signature feeling of suffering and unsatisfactoriness. Because after awakening we become more sensitive to this. And it's almost like you can't really avoid that anymore at a deep and felt intuitive level. So that's why people will ask me this, and it's phrased in a way that this is something I'm struggling with. That I feel this freedom, but there is something that in me that is turning away from my life and my experience. And that's something that can become very problematic in the relative. So to keep it simple, what was realised in this awakening, let's say, how much can we embody and honour that in our experience now? Because it's always now. And it might start to become apparent that this aversion from certain aspects of life is again happening in the mind, just at a subtle level. We're pushing up against and resisting what's here, and in doing that we are believing something, albeit a subtle way, about what this is and what it should be. And at the core of that is a sense of control and agency. That I believe I know what this is and what it should be. I believe somehow I have the power to control the unknowable by seeming to step out of it into a bliss state. That I need to control how I feel. Certain aspects of this are comfortable and acceptable to me, and certain aspects are unacceptable to me. And this is when it really comes down to emotion. that we start to realise that emotion, true emotion, is what I would call a sensation. And just due to conditioning or maybe trauma or whatever, the sensation arises in experience, let's say. And then there's the other part of what we think emotion is, which is the position on it, or the mental aspect of it, the thought aspect of it. And it says, I know what this is, or I don't like this, I should avoid this. Or I do like this, I want more of this. So these distinctions between different sensations, different emotions across that relative timeline of the character, and this movement of that discrete me in that, trying to move away from what it likes and move towards what it doesn't like. And in that there's an aversion from the emotion. And I don't know about anyone else, you can let me know, but I found that there was the ability to dissociate into this ultimate expansive infinite awareness state. There was the ability to seem to avert from that into a state of unlimited awareness. And whilst that was a gift, because I had found this incredible refuge that I never had access to before, in the relative story of the character, it just became another fixation. It became another escape or something. Non-duality was something I was using to escape my own immediate visceral physical experience of life. So if we adopt the intention of diving straight into what's here, including the emotions, when the emotion arises in experience, it's an opportunity to, one, feel it fully, accept it for the inherent wisdom that's within that can't be put into words or thought. Orient towards the incredible wisdom within emotion that's going to set you free. And then in that we start to notice what thoughts are appearing around that's framing this into something identified, something personal, something that's in a narrative that should or shouldn't be there, that has this quality or that quality that I like and I don't like. And from experience, you end up becoming, so to speak, or experience ends up becoming a connoisseur of these emotional flavours. So then it's not heavy. When it's not something that's happening to me, there's a profound mystery and curiosity within the emotions that you can savour and taste almost, as in different flavours and the spectrum of the emotional experience of life. What a cheesy phrase just came out of my mouth, but I actually sincerely feel that that's true. So the key in, a long-winded way of saying, the key in this is emotions, is getting in touch with the sensation. And the sensation is non-dual, the sensation is infinite. And it's not apart from anything else. So in that, the position is lost when we let that carry us. And by the way, it's the reaction to that causes all the problems. You probably find that, not the emotion itself, you probably find that it's intense and you can go through some intense energetic movements. Some people call that Kundalini, when we really, and the emotion can get so intense that it's almost like you don't remember it being like this. It's, but it's always been there. It's just this strange function that deadens us to it and allows us to seem to ignore it. So welcome the emotional flavour spectrum of life as much as possible. And then we're oriented towards experience, not back out of it, because we're averting from it. Anyway, that'll do for now. Very good comments recently as well, and I'll talk to you next time.